Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about something that doesn't get discussed enough, and particularly because YouTube fitness is oftentimes geared towards bodybuilders, and as a demographic, bodybuilders are frequently not in particularly good shape. And I don't mean that they don't look impressive, I mean that they are known as a demographic for quite frequently when they're outside of the gym being lazy. And it has to do with the fact that they're either always bulking or cutting. And that, of course, leads to if they're bulking, they don't want to waste energy. And so they tend to be frequently, and there are exceptions, but I'm just saying oftentimes a general rule, they tend to have a low activity level when they're not at the gym training, on their 5-day a week split or whatever they're doing. And therefore they tend to be out of shape in regards to just overall physical fitness, even if they get lean, or they tend to be cutting all the time, in which case their energy levels are down, because when you're in a caloric deficit, your body will downregulate your activity frequently to make up for it. And accordingly, this oftentimes bodybuilders, you can tell which bodybuilders do this, because when you look at the fact that they'll say, I train hard 5 days a week, and then you look at their body weight and how many calories they eat or what their maintenance calories are, it becomes apparent that they are not physically active individuals frequently. Again, if you have someone who trains 5 days a week or claims to, and they weigh 200 pounds, and they're not burning at least 3,500 calories every day as a maintenance, that's a good sign that they have a low level of physical activity. Just my experience dealing with these people. And what I would remind people is that if we want to be fit and we want to be athletes, it's important to maintain a high degree of physical activity. Now, that can be minor things, such as, again, just walking somewhere if you can or you have the option. It could be taking the stairs instead of the elevator, but those are minor. What we generally mean by a high degree of physical activity is doing extra things that are resistance all the time. Is just part of your general physical preparedness. Doing lots of work. Now, people who have a manual labor oriented job, this isn't as big of a deal, right? If you swing a hammer or stack bales of hay, or you move heavy boxes all day long, or you work construction, I'm not talking about you. You have a very, very large degree of general physical preparedness already with your labor. And if you work on a farm, you work on a ranch, maybe even if you're a mechanic or something. So you may not need that, but for everyone else, if you do not have a very physically demanding job, and again, that physically demanding, being on your feet all day is not physically demanding. That is not what I mean. There's no resistance component to standing for 10 hours a day, okay? Because I know people who have jobs like that and they think it's physically demanding and they're completely out of shape in every way. That's not the same thing. Even though their jobs might be physically stressful, they're not physically demanding. And a perfect example, and this might bother some people, but I watched it growing up because of members of my own family, nurses. Nurses is a perfect example. Stressful job, they're on their feet all day, but it's not physically challenging unless they are moving 300-pound patients 30 times a day. Okay, so what we mean is that you need to find different things of resistance to do. What do I mean? Even if you have to body weight stuff, find things to jump on. Like even here, I'm displaying some of my body weight type exercises. But you know what? If you just did a lot of these things with body weight, you just did chin-ups or pull-ups all day. Let's say at your job you have a pull-up bar, a chin-up bar, or you have one at home and you can just go buy it and crank out over the course of the day 3 chin-ups here, 4 chin-ups there, pull-ups, till you get to 20 or 30 every single day, 7 days a week, or even more, right? That will help with your general physical preparedness. Step-ups. Right, you guys see me doing some step-ups right there. If at your job you have a pair of stairs near you, you could grab something, a light object or just your body weight, and you could do a couple sets of 10 on each leg on some step-ups on the stairs. You could do that with a full range of motion like this, something where you step up a couple of steps on one leg, not the little short steps where you take one at a time. You get into a deep squat and stand up, like I'm doing here with a barbell, right? If you did an extra 50 or 60 of those every day while you're at work or whatever else, just throughout the day on each leg, that would contribute to your general physical preparedness, all right? And you need to think in these terms. People need to be finding things that they can do. And particularly if you don't have a physically active job, it's a really, really good idea to do this sort of stuff. Keep bands with you at work, right? You can do band work. You can do band work all day, every day. You have a pull-up bar, chin-up bar somewhere. A way to do push-ups, right? Just different things that can create resistance. Now, some people say, well, what about a burpee? Well, a burpee is not really challenging enough. Like, you really need to be able to get up on one leg or something. If you're a complete novice, the burpees or something might help, but there's no real component. Now, you step up onto an 18-inch or higher box on one leg, dozens and dozens of times, that's a little bit different. But even jumping activities, I would say, unless you have something to jump onto, you don't want to jump either. Jumping in the air and landing is actually not something you want to do repetitively. But if you have an object you can jump up on, you could do jumps. You know, what happens if you do 20 jumps or 30 jumps up onto a box or a desk or something every day? Right? You can do things like that. And a lot of people say, wow, well, people might think I'm weird. No, they won't. Not if you're physically fit. If you're known for being an active person and you're like that all the time, people get used to it. In fact, here's what I'm going to find, particularly if you start getting into better shape, or you are in good shape and everyone you work with notices it. A lot of people are like, well, they might think I'm weird. No, they won't. They might at first, but then a lot of people are going to start coming to you for advice. Your coworkers and everybody else will start coming to you for advice when you're in shape, because they want to know how to lose weight. They want to know how to get in shape. If you're in shape and fit or jacked or lean, or you've lost any weight and they know about it, people are going to come ask you, because they generally care about their physical fitness. It's just that they want tips, right? They always want an easy way out. So they're going to come to you for advice. And if people are genuinely coming to you for advice or tips on something in their personal life, trust me, they don't think you're too weird at that point. They don't think what you're doing is strange. And you'd be surprised how frequently this will happen once you start getting really active and fit. People will ask you. They will ask you all the time. They'll ask you for tips and pointers. So, I mean, looking at this, there's a lot of things that you can do. And in general, I would say that humans are not meant to be sedentary. We are meant to be active all the time. And guys really have to get this idea out of their head of my gains, bro. Because I'm not telling you to do list cardio. Okay, I'm not telling you to go do 4 hours of list cardio every day. I am talking about resistance-based stuff. And I can assure you right now that at no point in anyone's life ever has gotten really good at doing chin-ups or pull-ups ever made anyone's biceps and back smaller. Okay? Even someone who's on a regimented, structured routine, I can assure you beyond a shadow of a doubt that getting really good at pull-ups or chin-ups is not going to make your arm shrink. Okay? That has never happened in the history of lifting. Now, people will say, well, what about overtraining? No, you're confusing overtraining with junk volume. We could argue that a lot of general physical preparedness could fall into junk volume. Why? Because it's a lot of volume that can end up being fairly low fatigue and low stimulus. Meaning it could turn into volume that adds very, very little in terms of muscle mass, right? It adds very little. It might add a little small amount, but it's disproportionate. In other words, your normal workouts every week might be causing 95% of your muscle growth, and the amount of GPP that you work in through a week might actually exceed your weekly training time. Because if you're doing stuff like that every day, it could end up to where your actual work could equal your entire workout or double it, right? In some cases, your total time doing it might double or triple your normal workouts. And you end up gaining only a few little percentages of muscle, but you know what? It's still going to be muscle, and it's still going to improve your overall work capacity, right? It's going to get you into better shape to just be up and be active and do things like that. And what I mean is that, let's say you have a couple different things. You know what? You could, every time you jump under a bar at your job, you could walk under it, or maybe it's something you jump onto, do a couple of jumps up onto a thing, and then superset it with some chin-ups, and then drop down and do a few push-ups, okay? If you did that 10 times every single day, just throughout the day, that will improve your work capacity once you get used to doing it. And like with any other form of conditioning, yes, it can impact your training at first. It can affect your recovery at first. It can create some additional fatigue at first. But eventually it builds into more work capacity, more recovery, more muscle mass, more energy turnover, and it makes you fitter and more athletic. Right? It makes you fitter and more athletic. And people have to remember that. Humans are not meant to be sedentary. We're not meant to be sedentary. And if we do something that has a resistance component all the time, Our ability to recomposition and our ability to do larger volumes of work when we train and adapt better actually improves. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.